Welcome back to the deep dive. We take all this dense stuff, articles, history, even legal docs, and pull out what you really need to know so you're instantly up to speed.
Yeah, exactly.
And today, we are going deep on the Academy Awards, the Oscars.
That's right. We're peeling back the layers. Forget the red carpet for a minute. Forget the gold plating.
Okay.
We're digging into the history, which is honestly kind of surprising, almost secretive in parts. And the statue itself, that iconic Oscar, its legal status is fascinating. There's that whole $1 buyback thing we have to talk about.
Right, the famous $1 rule.
Yeah, and just the whole complex machine that decides who even gets considered, who gets nominated, who wins. It's really a story about how artistic recognition turned into this massive high-stakes game in Hollywood. Marketing rules, everything.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then. What are the Oscars? Officially, we know the name, Academy Awards of Merit, presented by AMPAS.
Right, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
For artistic and technical merit. Everyone says they're the most prestigious, but why? What gives them that final word?
Well, a lot of it is just history. They were first. Simple as that, really.
First?
Yeah, the oldest worldwide entertainment awards show. We're talking 1929. And here's the kicker. All those other big American awards, the Emmys for TV, the Tonys for Broadway, the Grammys for music, they were all basically copied from the Oscars.
Okay.
Yeah. The Academy Awards literally created the blueprint for how you recognize art on, an industrial global scale. They set the standard.
So they established the prestige factor, but the actual start, it sounds almost, kind of small and quiet compared to now.
Oh, absolutely. Hilariously low-key, you could say. The very first ceremony, it was just a private dinner.
Where?
Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, May 16th, 1929. And the audience? Tiny, maybe 270 people.
Wow.
If you wanted to bring a guest, a ticket was $5, which, okay, inflation means that's about $92 today, but still.
Still pretty cheap for the Oscars.
Right. And the ceremony itself, the whole thing, 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's barely time for appetizers.
Exactly. Forget long speeches.
So, thinking about the suspense now, the envelopes, it's surprising that back then there wasn't any suspense at all. People knew who won.
Correct. That was maybe their first big misstep. For that 1929 dinner, they told the newspapers who won 3 months before the event.
3 months. Why would they do that?
Well, they quickly realized it completely killed any excitement, any buzz, so they changed tactics. For the next, roughly 10 years.
What did they try then?
They'd give the results to the papers, but with a strict rule, an embargo.
Don't print this until...
Exactly. Don't publish until 11:00 p.m. on the night of the actual award ceremony.
Okay, a gentleman's agreement. Sounds fragile, though, especially with competing newspapers. Did it hold?
Not always, and it failed spectacularly in 1940. The Los Angeles Times, they just went ahead and printed the winners early, before the ceremony even started.
Ouch. So much for the embargo.
Yeah, it wasn't just bad journalism, it broke the whole system. Showed you couldn't trust that approach if you wanted the awards to be this big, popular event.
So what happened right after that leak? What was the fix?
The fix was immediate and permanent. Starting the very next year, 1941, they brought in the sealed envelopes.
The system we know today.
The exact system. It was a fast change, born out of necessity, really, to protect that moment of surprise. That envelope itself is now, an icon of secrecy.
Let's touch on some early quirks, too, because the rules weren't totally set yet. Like Emil Jannings, the first Best Actor winner, he got his award super early.
Yeah, that's right. He actually got his statuette 3 months before the ceremony.
Why?
Because he was heading back to Europe and wouldn't be there for the dinner, so they just gave it to him early. Shows how informal things were.
And that informality extended to what people won for, not always just one film.
Exactly. In that first ceremony, winners were often recognized for, their whole body of work during that eligibility period, not just a single movie.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Janet Gaynor, first Best Actress winner. She won for her performances in 3 different films that year.
3 films for 1 award.
Seventh Heaven, Sunrise, and Street Angel. Totally unthinkable today. But they stopped doing that pretty quick. After the 3rd Academy Awards, they locked it down to recognizing just one specific achievement per award.
And as movies changed, the awards had to change too.
Yeah.
Adding new categories.
Constantly adapting, or trying to. Look at international films. The Best International Feature Film Award, it used to be called Best Foreign Language Film.
Right.
That started out as just a special kind of honorary award. non-competitive. That was at the 20th ceremony.
So it wasn't a real category yet?
Not really. It took almost another decade until the 29th ceremony before it became a proper competitive award like the others, showing, that global cinema was becoming too important to ignore.
And animation took even longer to get its own feature category.
Much longer. Best Animated Feature Film didn't show up until the 74th ceremony. That was 2002.
And the first winner was?
Shrek,
Huh.
which was, a monster hit.
Yeah. So these new categories, they often feel like the Academy playing catch up, right? Trying to formally acknowledge these huge parts of the movie world that they'd previously sort of sidelined.
Okay, let's shift gears to the actual award. Section 2, the statuette. Probably the most famous trophy on Earth, but it has that really dry official name.
It does. Officially. It's the Academy Award of Merit.
Nobody calls it that.
Nobody. Everyone knows it as Oscar. The design is pure Art Deco. It's a knight holding a crusader's sword, standing on a reel of film, and it's got some heft. 13.5 inches tall, weighs 8.5 pounds.
Not something you just toss in your bag.
Definitely not.
And the design itself, the knight on the film reel, that's packed with meaning, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, very specific symbolism. The film reel he's standing on has 5 spokes.
5 spokes? Why 5?
They represent the original 5 branches of the Academy when it was founded. You had actors, writers, directors, producers, and technicians.
The core groups. Exactly. It was designed by Cedric Gibbons, the supervising art director at MGM, and then sculpted by an artist named George Stanley. The whole idea was to create something timeless, rooted right in the structure of the movie industry itself.
What fascinates me most, though, is what it's made of. Or rather, what it has been made of. It wasn't always gold or even metal.
Right. The materials have a really interesting history. It started as gold-plated solid bronze. Pretty standard.
Okay.
Then for a long time, they switched to something called Britannia metal. It's like pewter, basically. That got plated in layers, copper first, then nickel silver, and finally the 24-karat gold on top.
Layered plating. But the really wild part was during the war.
Yeah, World War II, there was a major metal shortage, obviously, because of the war effort. So for 3 years, the Oscars they handed out were made of painted plaster.
Painted plaster. Imagine winning the highest honor in film and getting plaster. Must have felt a bit, anticlimactic.
I mean, probably, even considering the circumstances. But the Academy knew the symbol mattered. So after the war, when metal was available again,
they fixed it.
They did. They invited everyone who'd gotten a plaster Oscar to come trade it in for a proper gold-plated metal one. Showed they were committed to the physical prestige of the thing.
So what about now? What are they made of today?
They actually went back to bronze in 2016. A company called Polish Talix makes the bronze core.
Yeah?
And then another company, Epner Technology, does the 24-karat gold electroplating. It's a serious process. It takes about 3 months just to produce a batch of 50 statuettes.
Wow. Okay, now the name. Oscar. How did that stick? There are so many different stories.
It's a total mystery, really, which is probably why the Academy just went ahead and trademarked the name Oscar to control it.
Smart move.
Yeah.
But what are the main theories?
Okay, theory 1. Margaret Herrick. She was the Academy librarian, later executive director, claimed back in 1931 that the statue reminded her of her Uncle Oscar.
Uncle Oscar.
Theory 2. Bette Davis, the actress. She wrote in her autobiography that she named it in 1936, after her first husband, Harmon Oscar Nilsson. Because, she said it reminded her of his backside.
Seriously?
That's what she claimed. But she later walked that back, realizing the name was probably already floating around by then.
Right. Theory 3.
Sidney Skolsky. He was a Hollywood columnist. He coined it in 1934 because he was on deadline and needed a catchy name, and it referenced some old vaudeville joke. The Academy actually credits Skolsky with the first confirmed newspaper use of Oscar that year.
Okay, so maybe Skolsky. There's one more.
One more. Eleanor Lilleberg. She was an Academy secretary. A former exec director said she named it after a Norwegian army veteran she knew, also named Oscar, who apparently stood straight and tall like the statue.
So basically, nobody knows for sure.
Pretty much. Could be any of them or none of them. But the name stuck, and now it's trademarked.
Which leads us directly to the most legally fascinating part.
Yeah.
The $1 buyback rule.
This is the genius move to protect the award's value. Since 1950, every single Oscar comes with legal strings attached.
What kind of strings?
A contract, basically. If the person who wins it or their family later on ever wants to sell the statuette, they must offer it back to the Academy first for the grand total of $1.
$1.
$1. And if the winner refuses to sign that agreement when they receive the award, The Academy just keeps the statuette. They don't get to take it home.
That's incredible.
Yep.
It's not about the money, clearly. It's about control.
Absolutely. It stops the Oscars from becoming just another collectible on the open market. If people started selling them for hundreds of thousands or millions.
It cheapens the award itself.
Exactly. It turns artistic merit into a commodity. The Academy has to keep that symbolic value pure, and controlling the physical object is how they do it. It protects their most valuable trademark.
But the Oscars awarded before 1950, they don't have that rule attached.
Correct. Those are fair game. And the few times they've come up for sale, it shows us what the market would pay.
Like the Harold Russell case.
Yeah, Harold Russell. He wasn't a professional actor, won Best Supporting Actor in 1946. In 1992, he needed money for his wife's medical bills, so he sold his Oscar.
How much did it go for?
$60,500, which is over $135,000 in today's money. He defended it too, said his wife's health mattered more than sentiment.
Understandable. But the biggest sale was when the Academy really didn't want to happen.
Oh, yeah. Orson Welles' Oscar. For writing Citizen Kane in 1941, his family went to court.
Aye.
They argued successfully that Welles never signed any kind of buyback agreement because it didn't exist back then, so the court let them sell it.
It sold for?
Over $861,000 in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So those pre-1950 sales really show you the kind of money the Academy is trying to keep out of the equation with that $1 rule.
Okay, let's move into the guts of it now.
Yeah.
Section 3. How does this all work? The nominations, the eligibility rules, the voting. This is where the Academy really wields its power, right?
Yeah.
Defining who gets to even play.
Absolutely. It all starts with the voters, AMPAS, the Academy. Right now, there are just over 9,900 voting members. 9,905, I think, as of 2024.
And getting in isn't easy.
No, it's invitation only. The Board of Governors has to invite you. Usually that happens if you get nominated for an Oscar yourself or if you've made some other really big contribution to film. It's meant to be exclusive.
But that exclusivity has historically led to criticism about who exactly is in the Academy.
Yeah.
The demographics.
Definitely. There was a major study back in 2000 that really laid it bare. It found that among active voters then, 94% were white.
94%.
Yeah. 77% were male. And more than half, 54%, were over the age of 60.
So overwhelmingly older, white, and male.
Historically, yes. And that context is crucial when you think about what kinds of films tend to get nominated and which ones get overlooked. It's been a huge point of contention.
Okay, so that's the voters. What about the films? How does a movie even become eligible for an Oscar? The rules seem weirdly specific.
They are incredibly specific and very, very focused on Los Angeles.
Right. It has to play in L.A.
Yes. To qualify for, say, the 2024 Oscars, a feature film had to open commercially in Los Angeles County sometime in the calendar year 2023, January 1st to December 31st.
And just opening isn't enough.
Nope. It has to play for at least 7 consecutive days, and even that has details.
Like what?
On each of those 7 days, it needs to screen at least 3 times. And one of those screenings, every day, must start sometime between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. prime time.
Wow. That feels like a very deliberate way to ensure it's a real theatrical run, not just a token screening. But does it create odd situations?
It creates the famous rollover scenario. A movie might come out, say, at a festival or even nationally in 1 year, but if it doesn't complete that specific 7-day primetime LA run until the next calendar year, it becomes eligible for the following year's Oscars.
You give an example of that?
The classic example is The Hurt Locker. It won Best Picture at the 2010 ceremony for films from 2009, but it had actually premiered at festivals way back in 2008.
Oh.
It just didn't do its official LA qualifying run until 2009, so it rolled over into that eligibility year.
What about technical stuff? Length? Format?
Standard stuff, mostly. It has to be feature-length. Definition is 40 minutes minimum, unless it's a short film category, obviously.
Right.
Format-wise, they accept traditional 35mm or 70mm film prints, or, no, digital cinema projections, but they have to meet a minimum resolution standard 2K, basically, 2048 by 1080 pixels. It's a technical bar.
Okay, so a film meets all that, it's eligible. Now, how does the voting work? Getting nominated first.
This is where the branch system comes in. For most categories like directing, acting, writing, cinematography, the nominations are decided within that specific branch. Meaning, only directors vote for the Best Director nominees. Only actors vote for the acting nominees, writers for writing, and so on. Pure recognition.
But not for Best Picture.
Correct. Best Picture is the exception. For that one, all eligible Academy members, regardless of their branch, can vote to select the nominees.
Okay, they have the list of nominees. How do they pick the winner? Is it just most votes wins?
For most categories, yes. Simple plurality. Whoever gets the most votes takes home the statue. Straightforward.
But not for Best Picture. That's different, right? Since 2009.
Exactly. Best Picture uses a system called instant runoff voting, or IRV, sometimes called preferential voting or ranked choice voting.
Okay, break that down for us. How does IRV work in this context?
Instead of just picking your single favorite film for Best Picture, voters rank the nominees in order of preference. First choice, second choice, third choice, and so on down the list.
Okay, ranking them, then what?
Then they count the first place votes. If one film gets more than 50% right off the bat, it wins. Simple majority.
But that probably doesn't happen often with 10 nominees.
Rarely. So if no film hits 50%, the film with the fewest number one votes is eliminated. Gone. But the ballots that listed that film as number one aren't just thrown out. They look at the second choice on those ballots, and they transfer those votes to whoever was ranked second. They keep doing this, eliminating the last place film and redistributing its votes based on the next preference until one film finally crosses that 50% threshold.
So it's designed to find the film with the broadest support, not necessarily the one with the most passionate niche following.
Precisely. It favors consensus. The idea is to prevent a film that maybe 30% love but 70% dislike from winning. You need to pick up those second and third place votes.
Makes sense for the biggest award. But I saw something about Best Visual Effects using yet another system, re-weighted range voting.
Yeah, that's super technical. It's been used since 2013 just for VFX. Essentially, the VFX branch members don't just rank. They score the nominated films based on different criteria, and then those scores get mathematically adjusted or weighted based on factors the branch decides are important. It's really about finding the strongest technical achievement according to the experts in that specific field.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. There's a big new rule coming in 2025 about voters actually watching the films.
Yes, this is a major change aimed at, well, ensuring people vote based on the work. Starting with the 2025 ceremony, members have to prove they've watched all the nominated films in a category if they want to vote in the final round for that category.
How do they prove it?
Through the Academy Screening Room. That's their secure online streaming platform where voters watch the contenders. The system tracks viewership.
So no more voting based on buzz or because your friend worked on it?
That's the goal. To combat the old criticism that people voted without seeing everything, it forces engagement.
But that Academy Screening Room,
Right.
putting your film on there costs money, right?
Right.
Especially for smaller movies.
It absolutely does. This is a huge point of discussion. The platform itself came about in 2019, largely replacing physical DVD screeners. It's secure, watermarked, all that.
But the cost.
For a North American distributor to get their film onto that platform for voter consideration, it's $12,500, plus another fee for the watermarking.
$12,500 just to be seen by the voters.
Yep. So you see the tension, right? The Academy is trying to diversify its members, maybe open doors to different kinds of films.
Right.
But at the same time, they implement this system that creates a pretty significant five-figure barrier to entry, especially for independent or international films without big studio backing.
Yeah, that definitely complicates the push for accessibility.
It's that constant pull between artistic ideals and the realities of the business. And speaking of business, once your film is on the platform, the Academy gets really strict about how you promote it. The anti-campaigning rules.
How strict are we talking? We know studios pour millions into for your consideration ads.
The spending is immense. Easily $25 million for a major campaign ads, screenings, hiring top publicists. But the Academy has rules and an awards czar to try and police direct lobbying.
What kind of lobbying is forbidden?
Things like filmmakers directly emailing voters, asking for votes, or hosting lavish parties that seem designed purely to sway opinion. They try to limit anything that feels like undue influence.
Do they enforce it?
They do, sometimes publicly. The most famous case recently involved a producer on The Hurt Locker. He got disqualified from the Best Picture category, just him, not the film, because he sent emails to colleagues basically urging them to vote for his film instead of the main rival, Avatar.
Wow.
Yeah, the Academy has to crack down on things like that, at least visibly, to maintain the idea that it's about the art, not just who runs the best campaign.
Okay, Section 4. Let's talk about the show itself, the ceremony. It's this massive, hours-long global TV event now. How did it get that way? The venues, the timing?
Well, the venues moved around a lot in the early days. We mentioned the Hollywood Roosevelt for the first one. Then they bounced between the Ambassador Hotel and the Biltmore for a while. Then a longer stint at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood in the 50s. But since 2002, it's found a pretty permanent home at the Dolby Theater right in the heart of Hollywood.
That feels like the modern Oscar home now. But the timing has shifted strategically too, right? Why did it move from late spring to late February?
That move around 2004 had two big reasons. First, it was a direct attempt to shorten Oscar season.
Cut down on the campaigning.
Exactly. Make the window for all that intense lobbying and advertising shorter, maybe lessen its impact. The second reason, pure business.
Which was?
Avoiding a clash with March Madness. The NCAA college basketball tournament is a ratings giant, and it starts mid-March. The Oscars didn't want to compete directly with that.
Smart. And what about moving from Monday nights to Sunday nights? That seems like a smaller change, but I heard it was a big deal for LA.
Huge deal. That happened back for the 1999 ceremony. The logic was simple. More people watch TV on Sunday night than Monday.
Okay, ratings.
Plus, holding it on a Monday night in LA, total traffic nightmare during rush hour. For attendees, for the city, moving to Sunday eased that considerably.
Easier for people back east, too, I guess.
Yep. East Coast viewers are a massive chunk of the audience. Ending the show earlier on a Sunday means they don't have to stay up quite so late on a work night.
It's amazing how stable the ceremony date has been, though. Only postponed twice in all those years.
Just twice due to major events. In 1968, they delayed it by 2 days after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, purely out of respect. And then again in 1981, just by 24 hours after the assassination attempt on President Reagan. Otherwise, the show has always gone on.
The producer's biggest enemy, though, seems to be the clock, keeping the show from running too long.
Oh, constantly. The average is around 3.5 hours, but they dread those marathons. The longest ever was 2002, 4 hours and 23 minutes.
Oof. So they started cracking down.
Primarily on acceptance speeches. That's where the time really ballooned. In 2010, they brought in the hard 45-second limit.
The dreaded playoff music.
Exactly. One organizer literally called the long, rambling speeches the single most hated thing on the show. So 45 seconds it is.
They've tried other things too, right? Like that text crawl.
Yeah, the on-screen ticker for thank yous, that was tried in 2016. And remember 2018, when Jimmy Kimmel offered a brand new jet ski to whoever gave the shortest speech.
I do remember that. Did anyone win it fairly?
Mark Bridges, the costume designer for Phantom Thread, clocked in super short and won the jet ski. It was a fun gimmick to make a point.
What about the in memoriam segment? That's always emotional, but it had some issues too.
It did. The segment itself started in 1993. The main criticisms were always about who got left out, inevitable snubs, really.
Yeah.
But the other issue was the audience clapping. It turned into this awkward, almost like a popularity contest based on who got the loudest applause, which felt wrong for a tribute.
So how did they fix that?
They started actively discouraging the audience from clapping during the segment, trying to keep it more solemn and uniformly respectful.
Let's talk TV ratings, because they seem to swing wildly depending on the year.
They absolutely do. And it boils down to one simple thing. Blockbuster nominees.
Meaning?
When the films nominated for Best Picture are huge box office hits that everyone has seen, the ratings go through the roof. The all-time record, 1998, the year of Titanic.
How many viewers?
57.25 million people watched that ceremony because everyone had seen Titanic and cared about the outcome.
But when the nominees are smaller, maybe more critically acclaimed indie films,
the ratings plummet. If the Best Picture contenders didn't make a big splash at the box office, fewer casual viewers tune in. The lowest numbers recorded since the 70s were in 2021 only 10.4 million viewers.
Wow, that's a huge drop.
It's the core dilemma for the Academy. Do you reward the art house favorites and lose the mass audience, or try to find films that bridge that gap? It drives so many decisions.
And finally, surrounding the ceremony itself, there's this whole ecosystem of parties and the gift bags. The legendary swag bags.
Oh, yeah. The parties are exclusive. The official governor's ball right after the show, Elton John's big AIDS Foundation fundraiser, the Vanity Fair party.
Right.
But the gift bags given to presenters, performers, and sometimes nominees, they're insane. Not from the Academy itself, mind you, but from outside companies.
Insane how we're not talking keychains and mugs.
Not even close. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in value.
Yeah.
One year, 2014, they were reportedly worth up to $80,000.
$80,000? What's in them?
All sorts of luxury stuff. Exotic vacation packages, think Hawaii, Japan, luxury resorts, private gourmet dinners, high-end cosmetic procedures like vouchers for $25,000 worth of fillers or laser peels.
Seriously, $25K in cosmetic work.
Yep. Plus expensive foods, gadgets. Even some years included fairly high-end adult products. Very controversial.
I bet. And if something's worth $80,000, Uncle Sam wants a piece.
You better believe it. The IRS actually had to issue a specific statement about these gift bags.
What did they say?
Basically reminded everyone that these aren't gifts in the tax sense. If you get an $80,000 bag of goodies, that's $80,000 of taxable income you need to report.
Ouch. Takes some of the shine off the free stuff.
Absolutely. It really highlights how intertwined the whole event is with big money and commerce, even down to the freebies.
Okay, Section 5. Let's look at the awards themselves, the categories, how they've changed, appeared, disappeared.
Yeah, the categories really reflect the history of filmmaking technology and trends. Like we mentioned, early on, things were split. Best Director had separate awards for drama and comedy in the very first year.
Right.
And for a long time, until the 1960s, major crafts like cinematography, costume design, art direction, they all had separate awards for black and white films and for color films.
Because color was still a distinct technology.
Exactly. Once color became standard, those split categories didn't make sense anymore, and they merged them.
Which big categories that feel essential now actually took a while to show up?
Well, the Supporting Actor and Actress Awards are a huge part of the show now, right? They often give us some of the most memorable wins.
Definitely.
But they weren't introduced until 1936, and Best Original Screenplay didn't become a category until 1940. So the basic structure we know took over a decade to really solidify.
And just as categories were added, others vanished. Awards that just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's like a little time capsule. The first ceremony had an award for Best Engineering Effects. Gone. Best title writing that was literally for the text cards in silent movies.
Obsolete overnight with sound.
Pretty much. Best Original Story was a separate writing award they got rid of in 1956. And maybe surprisingly late, Best Sound Editing was folded into a single Best Sound category only recently, in 2019.
But the pressure is always on the Academy to add new categories, right? To recognize skills that maybe feel overlooked. And two big ones are finally coming.
This is massive news for people in these fields. First up, Best Casting. It's officially starting with the 98th ceremony in 2026.
Casting directors finally get their due. They tried before, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. A proposal for a casting award was shot down back in 1999, so this has been a long, long fight. It's recognizing just how crucial casting is to the whole creative process.
And the other big one, finally, stunts.
Yes. Best Stunt Design. Set to debut at the 100th Academy Awards in 2028. This is maybe the most overdue recognition of all.
How long has that been pushed for?
Decades. The Academy formally rejected proposals for a Best Stunt Coordination Award every year from 1991 through 2012.
Wow. That's persistent rejection.
It really is. So for them to finally add stunt design, it's a huge victory for that community and acknowledges how essential and how carefully designed stunt work is in modern movies, especially the big blockbusters that, ironically, often get Best Picture nominations.
Yeah, the irony is definitely there. It feels like the Academy is slowly acknowledging the reality of how films are made today.
It's always that tension, artistic tradition versus industry evolution.
We should also mention that Best Popular Film idea that fizzled out fast.
Oh, right. That was announced in 2018. The idea was to create a specific award for blockbuster hits, probably to boost ratings after some popular movies got snubbed for Best Picture.
I could think go over well.
Terrible reception. Critics, filmmakers, pretty much everyone hated it. They felt it would create, like, a ghetto category, implying popular films couldn't compete for the main prize. The backlash was so strong, the Academy quickly postponed it, and it just vanished. Never happened.
Smart retreat. What about the non-competitive awards, the honorary ones?
Right, those are decided differently, not by the entire membership voting, but by special committees.
Like the honorary Oscar.
Exactly. The Academy Honorary Award is given pretty much every year for lifetime achievement or outstanding contributions. Then there's the Jean Herschel Humanitarian Award. That one actually comes in the form of an Oscar statuette recognizing philanthropic work.
Okay.
And the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award. That one's different. It's a bust of Thalberg, not an Oscar statue, and it honors producers with a consistently high quality of work over their careers. These let the Academy recognize important figures outside the regular annual competition.
Our Section 6. This is where it gets juicy. The controversies, the criticisms, the friction points. When you have this much prestige and money involved, things get messy. Let's start with the commercialism angle. the intense Oscar season lobbying.
Yeah, this is maybe the oldest and loudest criticism. We talked about the spending $25 million or more per film isn't uncommon for a big campaign. And director William Friedkin famously called the whole thing the greatest promotion scheme that any industry ever devised for itself. The accusation is simple. The awards aren't always about quality. They're about who runs the slickest, most expensive campaign, who hires the best publicists.
And that leads to studios making specific types of movies just to win, the Oscar bait phenomena.
Exactly. Oscar bait, it's almost a genre in itself. These are films that seem tailor-made to appeal to what's perceived as the traditional taste of Academy voters.
What does that look like?
Often it's historical dramas, biopics about famous figures, sometimes period romances, films with serious themes, maybe a disability or overcoming adversity. And crucially, they're often released late in the year, December, to be fresh in voters' minds during nomination season.
And the criticism is that this crowds out other types of films.
That's the argument, that the focus on Oscar bait means innovative genre films, comedies, sci-fi, horror, they get ignored, even if they're critically acclaimed or hugely popular.
Which actually led to a major rule change, didn't it? The 2009 snubs.
Yes, that was a watershed moment. The 81st Academy Awards. Highly popular, universally acclaimed films like The Dark Knight and WALL-E failed to get Best Picture nominations.
Same people were mad.
Furious. The backlash from the public and even within the industry was enormous. People felt the Academy was completely out of touch.
So what did the Academy do?
They reacted directly. The very next year, they expanded the Best Picture category from 5 nominees to 10.
To make more room.
Exactly. The hope was that with 10 slots, there'd be room for both the traditional prestige pictures and some of the more popular, acclaimed blockbusters or genre films that had been getting shut out.
This intense competition also fuels some pretty nasty tactics, right? The whisper campaigns.
Oh, definitely. Negative campaigning is a dark art in Hollywood. It involves spreading rumors, highlighting potential controversies, or just creating negative buzz about a rival film, often anonymously or through surrogates.
And Harvey Weinstein was famous for this.
Notoriously so. Miramax, under Weinstein, was known for aggressive tactics. The most cited example is the 1999 race, where his film, Shakespeare in Love, beat Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture. Many believe that win was helped by a campaign that subtly questioned Ryan's historical accuracy or painted it negatively.
Wow. Have there been other examples?
Yeah, films like Zero Dark 30 faced campaigns questioning its portrayal of torture. Lincoln faced minor historical quibbles amplified during voting. It's about planting seeds of doubt.
Okay, let's talk diversity. We mentioned the demographic stats earlier. This blew up with #OscarsSoWhite.
It really did. The numbers were stark. Historically, something like only 6.4% of all acting nominees had been people of color. Even looking just since 1991, it was only up to about 11.2%.
And then came a year with 0 non-white acting nominees.
2 years in a row, actually, for the 87th and 88th ceremonies. That second year sparked the #OscarsSoWhite hashtag and boycott movement. It put immense pressure on the Academy.
What was their response?
They had to respond. They promised historic changes, pledging to double the number of women and diverse members by 2020. They've been actively recruiting a much broader range of members since then.
And we're seeing results.
We are starting to see them. More diverse nominees across categories, and milestones like Michelle Yeoh becoming the first Asian woman to win Best Actress in 2023 for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But it's an ongoing process and debate.
And even the definitions of diversity in their new standards have caused some controversy.
That's true. The Academy created these Representation and Inclusion Standards Initiative, or RAISE, outlining diversity requirements for Best Picture eligibility, covering on-screen representation, crew diversity, internships, etc. But those standards have been criticized by some groups for specifically not including Jewish people as a recognized underrepresented group, despite historical anti-Semitism and exclusion in Hollywood. So the debate continues about who counts as diverse for these purposes.
Let's shift to category fraud. This feels like gaming the system.
It's a very common tactic and highly controversial. It happens when a studio submits an actor for a supporting award when their role is arguably large enough or central enough to be considered a lead.
Why do they do that?
Strategy. If you have 2 strong leads in a film, submitting one as supporting means they don't compete against each other. It increases the odds of the film winning multiple acting awards.
Can you give some examples people point to?
Oh, there are many debated examples. Rooney Mara in Carol had huge screen time but was run as supporting. Same for Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Viola Davis in Fences won supporting, but many felt it was a lead role. It often comes down to studio campaign decisions.
And then there's the idea that sometimes people win not for that specific performance, but for their whole career.
The legacy Oscar, the makeup Oscar, yeah, that's a recurring criticism.
Like the Academy is saying, oops, we should have given you one years ago.
Kind of. The feeling is that sometimes an actor, director, or composer wins for a perfectly fine performance, but maybe not the best that year, because the voters feel they're overdue or were unfairly snubbed in the past. Think Al Pacino finally winning for Scent of a Woman, or Martin Scorsese for The Departed. Great artists, but were those their absolute peak achievements? Debatable.
It definitely raises questions about merit in a specific year. Now, the streaming debate, Netflix, Amazon, that really shook things up.
It caused a genuine panic among some Hollywood traditionalists, especially after Roma, a Netflix film, got 10 nominations in 2019, including Best Picture and Best Director.
Who was leading the pushback?
Steven Spielberg was very vocal. He and others argued that films primarily released on streaming platforms weren't real movies in the same way as theatrically released ones, and shouldn't be eligible for the top awards, especially Best Picture. They worried streaming giants would just buy up all the Oscars.
But the government got involved.
Yes. The U.S. Department of Justice actually sent a letter to the Academy.
Really?
They warned the Academy that changing the rules specifically to exclude streaming services could potentially violate antitrust laws. Essentially, they couldn't arbitrarily block competitors just because they used a different distribution model.
So what was the outcome?
The Academy backed down from any major exclusion. They kept the existing rule. Streaming films are eligible if they meet the minimum theatrical release requirements, including that LA County run we talked about. It was a compromise.
The history of the Oscars also includes people just saying no, refusing the award.
It's rare, but powerful when it happens. The first was way back in 1935. Dudley Nichols, a screenwriter, won for The Informer but refused it initially.
Why?
It was a protest. There was a conflict going on between the Academy and the Writers Guild at the time. He did eventually accept it a few years later, though.
Who's the most famous refuser? George C. Scott?
Probably him or Brando. Scott won Best Actor for Patton in 1970. He was very outspoken against the awards, famously calling the ceremony a 2-hour meat parade. He made it clear beforehand he wouldn't accept, and he didn't.
And Marlon Brando?
Brando won Best Actor in 1972 for The Godfather. He refused the award as a protest against the negative stereotyping and mistreatment of Native Americans by the film industry.
And he sent someone in his place.
Yes, he sent Sacheen Littlefeather, an Apache actress and activist, onto the stage. She declined the statuette and read a statement from Brando explaining his reasons. It was a hugely controversial and highly televised moment.
Finally, the recent, really public incidents. The slap.
Yeah, you can't talk about recent Oscar controversy without mentioning the 2022 ceremony. Will Smith walking on stage and slapping Chris Rock after Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's appearance.
And Smith won Best Actor later that night.
He did, which made the whole thing even more surreal. The aftermath was huge, obviously. The Academy investigated and ultimately banned Smith from attending the Oscars or any Academy events for 10 years.
A less violent but still significant controversy is how animation gets treated.
Yes. This is a sore spot for many in the animation industry who feel their craft isn't taken seriously enough.
What's the issue?
It's often the language used by presenters when giving out the Best Animated Feature award. Comments during the 2022 and 2024 ceremonies kind of dismissing animation as just something for kids or formative experiences.
When many nominees are quite adult.
Exactly. Films like Flea, about an Afghan refugee, or The Windshield Wiper, a short exploring love. These are complex, mature works. Animators, many involved in the hashtag New Deal for Animation movement fighting for better working conditions, argue this language infantilizes their art form and ignores its sophistication.
Okay, we're nearing the end. Let's wrap up with some impressive records and milestones. Section 7, the superlatives. Who holds the biggest records?
You have to start with Walt Disney. He's in a league of his own.
Most awards ever.
By far. 26 total Academy Awards. 22 of those were competitive wins, plus 4 honorary awards. He was nominated 59 times.
59. Incredible. Did he win multiple in one night?
Yes. He also holds the record for the most Oscars won in a single year. He won 4 at the 1954 ceremony. His records seem pretty unbreakable.
What about nominations in just one category? Is there a specialist?
That would be composer John Williams, the man behind Star Wars, Jaws, Indiana Jones.
Right.
He has been nominated an incredible 48 times just for Best Original Score. He's won 5 times in that category.
Most nominations without ever winning a competitive award.
Mm-hmm.
That must sting.
It's currently a tie, sadly. Sound mixer Greg P. Russell and songwriter Diane Warren both have 16 nominations without a competitive win.
16 tries. Wow. Didn't Russell have a nomination taken away?
He did. His 17th nomination was actually revoked because he violated those campaigning rules about contacting voters improperly. So he's stuck at 16 losses. Diane Warren, though, finally received an honorary Oscar in 2023, recognizing her amazing career.
Okay, looking at the films, which movies have won the most Oscars? There's a 3-way tie, right?
Yes, 11 wins is the magic number. Tied at the top are Ben-Hur from 1959,
Classic epic.
Titanic from 1997,
Global phenomena.
and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King from 2003.
And Return of the King did something unique.
It did. It won every single category it was nominated in. 11 nominations, 11 wins. A clean sweep, which is almost unheard of at that scale.
Which films hold the record for most nominations? Also a tie.
14 nominations is the record there, held by All About Eve from 1950, Titanic again in 1997, and La La Land in 2016.
But most nominations without winning anything, that's got to be painful.
11 nominations, 0 wins. That unfortunate record is shared by 2 films, the ballet drama The Turning Point from 1977 and Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple from 1985.
Ouch. 11 chances, nothing. What about franchises? Which series has the most total wins?
That would be the Lord of the Rings trilogy overall. Across the 3 films, they racked up a total of 17 Academy Awards, dominated the early 2000s.
And finally, the age extremes. Oldest and youngest winners.
The oldest person to win a competitive Oscar is screenwriter James Ivory. He won for Best Adapted Screenplay for Call Me By Your Name when he was 89 years old.
Wow, 89. And the youngest?
Tatum O'Neal. She won Best Supporting Actress for the movie Paper Moon back in 1974. She was only 10 years old at the time.
10 years old. Incredible. Shows that talent can really hit at any age. Well, this has been quite the journey. We've really gone behind the curtain of this massive institution, from that tiny 15-minute dinner in 1929 where everyone knew the results.
Right, to this huge, heavily regulated, globally televised spectacle where fortunes are made and lost on campaign strategies.
We saw the statue itself, the icon, started as plaster during the war, but its value now is so protected by that quirky $1 buyback rule.
Yeah, and the voting system's evolving from simple head counts to complex ranked choice methods, all while the Academy grapples with commercial pressures, diversity demands, and technological shifts.
So for you, the listener, understanding all this, the eligibility rules, the LA County requirement, the campaign spending, the $12,500 platform fee, the historical biases, the category politics, it really changes how you see Oscar season, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You realize it's not just about artistic merit in a vacuum. It's a game with very specific rules, high stakes, and powerful gatekeepers. You're instantly more informed about the real dynamics.
Which brings us to our final, provocative thought for you to chew on. The Academy is making very public moves lately, pushing diversity in membership, finally adding categories like casting and stunts, trying to crack down on category fraud. They seem to be opening up.
Right, those are positive signals addressing long-standing criticisms.
But at the same time, they're reinforcing these really strict, expensive structural barriers. That mandatory, geographically limiting LA County theatrical run, that 5-figure fee just to get your film seen by voters on their platform.
Hurdles that disproportionately affect smaller, independent, and international films without massive studio backing.
Exactly. So the question to leave you with is this. Are these recent reforms genuinely widening the Academy's embrace to find the best films from anywhere in the world? Or are the deep-seated commercial requirements and structural hurdles still the biggest, perhaps even insurmountable, barriers keeping truly diverse global cinema from reaching that golden stage?